Nikki on her newest album, Nicole, definitely going for a more toned down, stripped back feel, and especially like the last time I think we really talked about Nikki on here was probably the end of last year when we talked about her single off of the Marvel movie. That's slipping my brain.
Shang-Chi.
Thank you, Shang-Chi. Which is like a super bubbly, upbeat song. So then going into this album, I was like, what are we gonna get from Nikki? And totally subverted my expectation for sure.
Yeah, I think that's exactly right. And if you just step it back even further, Nikki, who's only now 23, but has had, I think, now three distinct eras of her musical career to this point. She had the two EPs, Zephyr and Want to Take This Downtown, and then 2020's debut album, Moonchild. Those two EPs were much more like traditional contemporary R&B music, and then Moonchild was definitely in a more synth poppy direction. And then, as you said, 2021, she drops perhaps the best song she's ever made, Every Summertime, a song that made both of our top 10 songs of 2021. Just an amazing track that she, I don't know, lowercase wasted on the Shang-Chi soundtrack. I would have loved her to save that for one of her own records. Nonetheless, it still became a big hit for her, and that's great. And now you hear Nicole, that second album, and like you said, it's a more acoustic. It's much more stripped down. It's certainly not synth pop. It's certainly not the sound of Moonchild. And I think to some people, they might criticize a lack of musical identity, as you would say. But to me, I think this willingness to genre jump and is always doing it well at that is probably that musical identity, at least right now. And uh, regardless, the fact that I continue to enjoy the music I'm getting, no matter what style it is, I think is the most important thing going on here. And I like Nicole quite a bit, despite it not being what I expected either.
Yeah, and I really enjoyed it as well. And it was an album that, similar to the one we just talked about, I think when I first listened, what I went in expecting and what I got was so surprising that it took me a minute to get into it. But once I got into it, I was really taken by, I think, Nikki's vision for this, as well as just her like honesty in songwriting. And while I think like it's a bit like uneven at points, I really like got vibes of like I think Phoebe Bridgers is the one that like initially came to mind, but the more I sat with it, almost like some of Olivia Rodrigo's more like toned back acoustic songs, or even like Harry Styles like Fine Line type songs on this at times. And I was like, you know what? If this is like the route she's gonna go, it's it feels totally different than what a lot of people on 88 Rising are doing right now, and it feels like a
Mm.
really great lane for her to build out on. It's super personal too, which I think I really liked. It's not just songs where she's just singing about whatever. Like she's really trying to tell a story about herself. So, and for a 23-year-old, that's pretty impressive.
Yeah, I think that's right. And I was definitely struck with her songwriting ability. And like you said, the fact that it is so personal, it is so specific. And even if some of the themes might be familiar at times, it feels very authentic coming from Nikki, especially in this kind of stripped down acoustic type of music making where it's really her vocals and her cadence to her singing that often carries many of these songs. So yeah, I did enjoy it quite a bit. I was really struck with one of the singles, which has a music video now, High School in Jakarta. I
Hmm.
thought that was perhaps the kind of the pinnacle of her just really showcasing, like, I think, deep personal storytelling ability, where in a sense, it's quite simple, just kind of reflecting on her past in her younger years and the ups and downs of adolescent life. We've heard that before, but I just think the charisma she brings to it is awesome, and I think that hook in particular is amazing. Was it high school in Jakarta, sort of modern Sparta?
Yeah.
Uh, had no chance against the teenage suburban armadas. It's like, oh my god, like it's such a catchy hook,
And the
and
way
it
she
also
sings
really,
it.
yeah, I know, and it really distills, I think, the whole song to those verses. Then, like
Hmm.
later on, she's like, had no chance against the Marxist girl with marijuana, and like again, the way she sings that line, like
Yeah.
this is my favorite song on the album for sure.
Yeah, definitely a standout for me as well. Yeah, and earlier on the album, I think I was a little bit less taken, and I think it really finds, at least for me, it found itself a little bit more near the middle when We get like, Facebook Friends, Into Anaheim, then a couple songs later, Autumn. I really liked those three a lot. Facebook Friends is probably the most like Phoebe Bridgers type song on this album, but I really love that chorus a lot. But in the rare case I do cross your mind, I hope you know you always cross mine. I can honestly tell you I've been doing fine, but I've done better. I've done better. I've done better. But the way she sings it is so like wispy. It almost feels like it's like just like something she's like whispering to herself as she's like in her room like scrolling Facebook or something. And I just like felt the emotion on that song a lot, and I was like, you know what, this is something that I think a lot of like high school people could really relate to, you know, a feeling like of like a friendship or like a relationship lost and you're just kind of like staying friends with them. I mean, now it wouldn't be Facebook, it'd be like Instagram or something like that, you
Yeah,
know, like I'll just keep you on the muted list and check in on you every once in a while. But I really
close
appreciate
friends
that.
of
I
the
think it's
story.
yeah, exactly. I really like that one, and then yeah, Autumn. A couple songs later really stood out to me as well. That gave me
Mm,
very like I don't even know. It's a little bit more R&B, a little bit more upbeat, but just something about her like delivery and that like bridge to the chorus just really caught me. You know, and it like then it
mm,
builds up, and then it you expect it to go like really hard, and it just kind of then like bites itself back. And I just was like really, I think, impressed with how restrained she was on this. You know, like I think again, going back to Summertime as like such a banger song, you kind of expect these moments to just like flourish and like grab you. And she just
mm.
continually was like, no, I'm trying to do this like personal album, and like brought it back, knowing that she has this other card in her back pocket that could just create these amazing songs as well. So really impressed by this.
Yeah, totally, totally. I think if you think about her biggest hit uh, to this point, low key, I think the reason that song is so appealing to people, and probably why the reason is why it has the most streams of any of her songs, would be that that personal lyricism is there, but also Nikki has a really distinct delivery, no matter what genre she's in. Where, as you've been saying, like I think she's just really effective in like conveying her words,
Mhm.
and that feeling I think is really present on many of these songs on Nicole. Where even if I think the style of song is quite different on these than low key, you can still kind of feel like her presence across these distinct eras. So I'm not usually a huge ballad guy, but I gotta say, like some of these more acoustic joints, like "Take a Chance with Me" and "The Apartment We Won't Share," I thought they're just really strong. And then I think keeping tabs, like the tempo of that song, is perhaps the most upbeat performance from Nikki on the album, even though it's not exactly like a super upbeat song still. So yeah, I think there's a lot to enjoy here. Um, and in general, I think this is really, and we're in the midst of a big year for Nikki because she performed at Coachella as part of that '88 Rising set earlier in the year, making her and Rich Brian the first Indonesian performers at the festival. And then later in the year, she'll be going on her first headlining tour in the United States. So things are definitely looking up, and everyone knows how hot '88 Rising is these days. All eyes on the next Joji record after he had a top 10 hit come out of nowhere. So uh, Nikki, though, things are good. So can't wait to see what's next and what genre she tackles next because she'll probably switch it up again eventually.
And she'll definitely crush it. So again, our Nostalgia Best of 2022 playlist, where we'll be adding a Nicki song or two.